Tonight's bedtime story is Sneaky Movie Snacks by Luke. Deep in the heart of a faraway forest stood a cozy wooden cabin. Inside the cabin lived a family of koalas. Well, not the whole family actually. Coco lived there. Yes, he lived there with his parents and his grandparents. And his little sister, Kira the panda, but the family went much wider than that. There was their cousin, Kiki, the kangaroo, who lived in Sleepy City, and then of course there was Uncle Keith, although not Coco's direct uncle, he called him that, as it was simpler than getting out the family trees to figure out how they were actually related. Keith was actually a distant, long-lost cousin or something that Coco and his aunt Shirley met in Australia. Keith said he was going to visit Sleepy Forest that day, and when he eventually did, he decided to stay. Now he works in the Sleepy Forest cinema. Coco's mum would often take Coco and Kira across Sleepy Forest to the Cineplex, a big shining metal-clad building that reminded them of a spaceship. They would go in up the escalators and into the plush red carpeted lobby, where ticket sellers sat behind their desks and a big screen hung from the ceiling telling you which films were playing and what time they'd be on. And there too would be Uncle Keith. Coco would give him a hug, and Keith and Coco's mom would catch up, and then Kira and his mom would go through to watch one of the films. What fun it was going round to Uncle Keith's. Keith was the security guard there. He wore a special uniform, a blue shirt tucked into blue trousers with a shining leather belt with a brass buckle, a smart blue cap on his head, and a bright gold badge on his chest that said the word security. And he would stand by the red rope that was strung in front of the doors to the cinema screens and carry out his duties, like checking everyone's tickets, making sure they knew which auditorium they needed to be in, and pointing out the way to the toilets. And of course, his other very important duty, which Coco's mom never tired of reminding him of. Remember, Coco, she would say you're not allowed to take your own snacks into the film. They have to be snacks bought from the cinema itself. That's the Cineplex's policy. So no sneaking anything in it's your Uncle Keith's job to make sure no snacks get slipped inside. And if he catches you trying, well, then you'll be in trouble. There was only one problem with this policy. The snacks sold at the cinema were, well, to tell you the truth, they were awful. Everything else about the cinema was just brilliant. The seats were comfy and everyone was very friendly. They had great shows on, and afterwards you could even go and take your photo in the photo automat so that you could remember each and every special visit. But the snacks, they were just bad. There was barely any variety, just a couple of packets of fruit gummies and some popcorn that only came in salted. And whom actually liked salted popcorn other than adults? And it was kind of dry anyway. It made no sense to Coco. Why? A cinema that didn't let you bring your own snack also happened to be the place that offered the worst snacks of anywhere he'd ever been in the world, like ever. But it just must be another one of those unanswerable mysteries of the universe, like why the sky is blue, or why it was that his little sister only ever wanted to play with the exact toy that he had just decided to play with himself. Those mysteries would just have to stay mysteries, I guess. But just because the mystery of the bad snacks remained a mystery, that didn't mean it had to remain a problem. And finding a solution to it was just what Coco and his little sister Kira were attempting to do one sunny afternoon when their mom took them to the Cineplex. You see, today, Coco had a bright blue backpack on his back, and that bright blue backpack was full of the most delicious treats. Yep, that's right, this afternoon, Coco and Kira were going to try to sneak them in. But how will we do it? Kira whispered out of the corner of her mouth. As they followed their mom into the Cineplex, we and just walk them through in the backpack. Uncle Keith will check. I haven't worked that bit out yet, Coco whispered back, but he must have whispered it a little bit too loudly as his mum turned around and gave them both an eyebrows-raised look, as if to say, "What's going on with you two?" Coco had to whistle and look up at the clouds, and Kira just twiddled the purple bow in her hair as innocently as she could until their mom turned around and carried on walking. "We'll have to work that bit out," Coco continued even more quietly this time. Once we get inside, they rode the escalator up into the familiar red-carpeted lobby when a voice called out, "Well, Lukey." "Who it is?" Uncle Keith, they exclaimed, and ran up and hugged him, each of them wrapping one of their arms around his legs. "How are my favorite niece and nephew?" Uncle Keith asked. "We're very good, thank you, Uncle Keith," Coco said, beaming up at him. "Oh yes," Kira nodded, and we ready to keep to cinema policy to the very letter, which made Coco shoot her a warning look. Sometimes Kira could be so tactless for a few minutes their mom caught up with Uncle Keith, and then she led them over to the counter to buy tickets for the show. The film today was called Turtle Island. It was about two human sisters who go and help look after newborn baby turtles in Thailand, and Coco and Kira had been looking forward to seeing it for ages. "Any snacks with those tickets, folks?" the friendly badger behind the counter asked. Coco and Kira exchanged a secret sly look, then turned their shining smiles to the badger. "No, thank you," they told him. The badger passed over their tickets, and they thanked him, and then they moved away with their mother. "All right, you two there," Mum said. "I am going to go and run some errands while you two are in your film. Uncle Keith is going to keep an eye on you, and I'll be here waiting with him the moment you step out." "Okay," Coco and Kira both nodded. "And remember?" Their mum called over her shoulder as she went towards the escalator. "Behave yourselves, yes." Mum, Coco called back sweetly. "We always do." And then they were alone with Uncle Keith. "Hey, Uncle Keith," Coco said, "we're just going to sit over on that table there until the film starts." "Alrighty," said Uncle Keith, nodding that yes. "No problem, just stay where I can see you, and make sure you do only miss the show. It terrific!" Coco and Kira went over to the table, and Kira hopped onto the bench. Coco swung the blue backpack off his back, joined her, placing the bag on the table and opening the zip just a little so that they could peer inside. It was filled with all of their most favorite snacks: gummy bears and strawberry laces, flying saucers and candy cables, chocolate coins, and even a bag of butterscotch toffee popcorn. Yum! Neither Coco nor Kira could think of anything they'd like more than sitting in front of Turtle Island and munching their way through all their snacks. But how were they supposed to sneak them in? They sat there, scratching their heads, humming and hawing and trading half-baked ideas that would never work near them. As they chatted were a circle of other young creatures, including an elephant and a chipmunk, a mole and a kangaroo, and a small flock of fluffy sheep. But Coco and Kira barely noticed them, so immersed were they in their conversation, until the mole, who sported a pair of green-rimmed glasses over his blinking eyes, sidled over to them. Pestamole whispered. Kira and Coco looked at her with their eyes, raised no meaning to eavesdrop. On the two of you, the mole went on, but I could help. But hearing what you were talking about there, my eyesight might be less than perfect, but they got ears like a mole. So you too are trying to sneak snacks, and Coco and Kira exchanged a nervous glance. Oh dear, Coco thought, had they been busted? No need to worry, guys, the molar said with a twinkling smile. We retrying to sneak them in to let espionus the snacks, here AI, and all they could be want to come and trade ideas. Like they say, the more heads, the merrier. A little flood of relief went through Coco. Thanks, he said, that'll be great. And so he and Kira went over to meet their new friends, who were all avid, discussing just how to get their treats into the cinema screen. We have a plan already, bleated one of the sheep. We will simply hide out fruit pastels in our woolly coats. Look now, you can barely see them. And it was true. All of the many-colored sweets were hidden deep inside their white woolly coats. That is all right for you, sheep said. The mole. But what are the rest of us meant to do? Yeah, piped up the kangaroo. I don't have any wool I can hide sweets in, neither do I, said the chipmunk. No, me, said the elephant. So, said the mole, what are we all meant to do? And the whole circle of them started scratching their heads. They couldn't think of anything above them. The slender hand swung around the great clock, slicing off seconds one by one. It would be long before they had to go into the cinema. Would they think up a plan in time then? Like a light bulb coming on in her head, Kira had one. I know, she said, even though we don't have woolly fleeces like the sheep, we can still take a leaf out of their book. Each of us is a different creature. We have to think about what unique qualities each of us has that will help us sneak the treats in. What a good idea, Kira, said the mole, before all the rest of the creatures started nodding as they contemplated her suggestion. And then, armed with the idea, they put their heads together and thought. Uncle Keith had been working at the cinema for years and years, more years than he could even remember. And though you might think a cinema is a pretty monotonous place to work, he begged to differ. Uncle Keith had seen some things in his time. The art of cinema could do the strangest things to creatures. They could come out laughing, or crying, shouting, or dancing. For joybirds flew to the ceiling and would come down. Wildebeests stampeded. And once a young otter had locked himself in the toilet and refused to come out until his favorite actor, who he had just seen in a film, personally traveled from Hollywood to meet him. But Uncle Keith had to admit he hadn't seen anything stranger than what occurred to him that afternoon. Coco and Kira came to see Turtle Island. At first, everything seemed normal enough. His sister came with the kids, dropped them off. Then Coco and Kira went to sit at the table to wait until the film began, and that's when the strange things started to occur. It began with an elephant. The elephant walked towards Keith with a funny look on his face, a kind of embarrassment mixed with trying to look extremely breezy. It was a look Uncle Keith recognized, the look of someone about to misbehave, but much to his surprise, the elephant didn't do anything wrong at all. He just showed Keith his ticket. Turtle Island, kids say. Enjoy the show. And the elephant walked on through a little bemused. Keith turned to watch the elephant go in, and that is when he saw something truly peculiar all over the elephant. Back there were snacks taped down with sellotape, chocolate and candy, and even a box of popcorn. Uncle Keith frowned. Why ever would someone do that? It was almost as if the young elephant was trying to hide the snacks from him, but had totally forgotten that Keith was able to see the elephant's back just as well as he was able to see his front. Keith shook his head, but he didn't have long to think about it, because just a moment later, the next peculiar thing occurred. A little chipmunk with brown and white, stripy hair approached him bearing a ticket. "Howdy," Keith said as he checked it, looking forward to the show today, but the chipmunk didn't answer. Instead, she just gave him a big toothy smile, and when she did, lo and behold, a bright red sweet popped straight out of a gap between her teeth and went across the floor. The chipmunk gave a surprised little squeak, clamped both of her paws against her mouth, and hurried through into the cinema. "Very strange," thought Uncle Keith. "Gone to pick up the fallen sweet and put it in the bin. Very strange indeed." He turned around and came face to face with a kangaroo. "Hello," said the kangaroo. "Here is my ticket." Uncle Keith checked it, pointed the way, and only then noticed that the kangaroo's pouch was absolutely filled with coins. Except the coins appeared to be melting. Yes, that is right, melting. They were chocolate coins, and they were so close to the warmth of the kangaroo's belly that they were all beginning to melt and ooze. Now, why would a kangaroo choose to store his heat-sensitive snacks like that? Uncle Keith sighed and shook his head, then looked up at the big clock. The show was just about to start, so everyone ought to be in the auditorium and waiting. But wait, he had seen Coco and Kira go in. He didn't want them to miss the film. Uncle Keith looked over at the table where Coco and Kira had been, only to find that now they weren't there. In fact, they were nowhere to be seen. He had told them to stay in sight, so where on earth could they have gone? What Uncle Jeff didn't know was that Coco and Kira were in fact already in the cinema. They were sitting on their soft, comfy seats, the blue backpack full of the most tasty snacks imaginable open in front of them, and the film about to start. Next to them sat their new friend Mindy. The mole. Coco looked at her and grinned. "That was an epic sneaking," he said. "Oh yeah," she replied, "it certainly was." You see, once all the other animals had worked out their ways of sneaking snacks into the cinema, only Coco, Kira, and Mindy had been left. Coco and Kira couldn't quite come up with any ideas of how to sneak the snacks, in what kinds of stealth and subterfuge were natural to a panda and a koala. After all, but that is, when Mindy had told them that they had already brought their special talents along, they, after all, had brought the big bag of sweets with them and had come up with the idea to follow the sheep's lead, so it was up to her, Mindy, to get them in. And so Coco and Kira had watched as Mindy burrowed a hole straight down through the ground. Then she poked her head with her little green spectacles out of the hole and told them to follow her well. Mindy had burrowed straight under Uncle Keith and into the cinema screen, and Coco and Kira had followed after her with the backpack full of sweets. And here they were. They'd made it, except, oh. Kira whispered at us, Uncle Keith. He was climbing up the auditorium stairs, his security guard escort in his hand, and he was looking right at them and their lap full of sweets. It was too late to hide them here. "You two are sick." "Uncle Keith, how on earth did you manage to get in without me seeing?" Coco felt a little bashful, but he had to own up. He told his uncle how they got in, but we only did it because we wanted to bring in our own snacks. Uncle Keith, the truth is, the cinema snacks are no good, and you've got to have snacks with a film. You've just got to. And I know it is against the cinema's policy. But what do you mean? Uncle Keith said, a little frown, furrowing his fairy forehead. What cinema policy? The policy against bringing your own snacks in. Of course, Kira said. Uncle Keith looked from one to the other, then let out a mirthful little chuckle. Who told you that load of codswallop? He said, there is no such policy at all. Coco and Kira stared at him wide-eyed. But Mum told us there was, Coco said, ever since I was tiny. Uncle Keith shook his head, his belly shaking with laughter. Sounds to me like your mom was just trying to stop you eating all those naughty snacks. And it worked. Now it was Coco and Kira shaking their heads. Their sneaky, devious mom tricking them. Like that, they couldn't believe it, so we allowed to eat these snacks. Kira asked you. Certainly are, said Uncle Keith, and in fact, I am gone now. Join you, Filmes, about to start with these words. Uncle Keith lowered himself down into the chair next to them and stuck his paw into the blue backpack, pulling out a bag of sweets. Ah, he said, lemon sherbets, my favorite. And with that, Coco and Kira and their Uncle Keith and their new friends, Mindy, the mole and the kangaroo and the chipmunk and the elephant and the flock of bleating sheep too, all hushed up because the film was starting. The words Turtle Island appeared in big green letters on the screen. And then there were images of a perfect tropical island, turquoise waves lapping against golden beaches and greenback turtles drifting out across the sea. Coco sunk down further in his seat, and beside him Kira did too. They had fistfuls of butterscotch popcorn which they ferried back and forth from their mouths. The screen flickered. The two little sisters appeared in their high-rise flat in Bangkok. That Paradise Island had just been a dream all in their heads. But Coco had a feeling that they might end up there in real life eventually, and everyone in the cinema watched the screen. They laughed, they sighed, perhaps a tear even came to an eye. And if one or two of the audience members fell asleep and ended up snoring gently on their neighbor's shoulder, who could blame them? It was tiring work, sneaking snacks into cinemas, and there are a few better places for a nap than when you're re-watching a film, surrounded all around by your friends and family. Now we are sailing into a soft and peaceful sleep. Sound asleep affirmations. Feel the soft and cozy support of your bed. Feel the way your body heavy and happy with sleepiness is being carried. Upon it, gentle ocean currents. On the rising and falling of waves, feel how they are lapping gently beneath you, bearing you into the land of sleep. These waves carrying you are deep and gentle. Like our breath, breathe with the waves. Breathe in and out, in and out. They go in and out, in and out. Close your eyes, let your eyelids be heavy. Let your whole body relax as you sail into sleep. Feel your arms soft and heavy, and your legs and feet soft and heavy. To let us pay some gentle attention to how our bodies are feeling. Keep your eyes closed and let your mind come unhooked from your head. Your mind is a magical thing. It can stay inside your head, or it can travel all around your body, like a little person wandering around a house to check that all is well. Your mind travel first to your breath. Feel the breath moving through your nose. Feel the breath moving into your chest or into your tummy, making it rise and fall, rise and fall. Good. Just focus on your breathing. That's wonderful. Now let your mind float down from your breath. Let it travel down one of your arms. Feel the sensation in your arm. Feel how it is heavy on the bed or maybe soft tucked underneath your head as you sleep. Let your mind travel down your fingers. First, let your mind wander down to the tip of your thumb, now down your first finger, now your middle finger, now your ring finger, and last but not least, your pinky. What does it feel like at the end of your pinky? Bring your mind back up to your breathing and breathe in and out, breathe in and out. Now we're traveling with our minds all the way down our other arm. Let your mind go down each of your fingers on that arm first. Let your mind wander down to the tip of your thumb, now down your first finger, now your middle finger, now your ring finger, and now your pinky. Very good. Now let your mind come back to your chest and let it sit there soft and heavy right where your heart is. If you let your mind rest there, you will even be able to feel the gentle beating of your heart. Do you know what your heart says as it's beating? It says, I love, I love, I love. That's what everyone's heartbeat says. I love, I love, I love. And as everyone's heartbeat says that the world fills up with love, the world fills up with each heartbeat like a lake filling up with the raindrops that fall from the sky. The lake of love can never be too full, and it can never be empty. The whole world is full of love. You are loved. Your family love you. Your friends love you. People all across the world love you. The animals in the fields and the birds in the trees and even the trees themselves, they all love you too, and we love them back. That is the beautiful thing about love. You can never give too much of it because it can never run out. Love is like the water in the lake. There will always be more of it. It falls from the sky like rain and keeps us safe and happy. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved while you're floating through your dreams. Whisper your love to the world. Say, I love you, world. And now listen. Out here, the world, say it back. The world is saying, I love you. The world is gentle, and you are gentle too. The world is kind, and you are kind. 2. The world is loved, and you are loved too. The rain loves the ground it falls upon, and the ground loves the grass and trees and flowers that grow up out of it, and the grass loves the animals that walk upon it. Animals love the world they wander through is so beautiful. And the whole world loves you. Feel how your body is drifting peacefully upon the gentle lake. Let any worries that may have lingered from the day sail away from your mind. Watch them disappear like a whole host of multicolored helium balloons being released into the sky. Watch them as they go, as they soar up high. Smaller and smaller they get. Smaller and smaller until they are just little specks in the sky, and then they are gone. You are safe. You are kind. There is nothing to worry about as you drift into sleep, because you are drifting on the lake of love. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved. The world is gentle, and you are gentle too. The world is kind, and you are kind too. The world is loved, and you are loved too. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids get heavy. Let your limbs get heavy too. Feel your arms and legs falling heavily into your soft and cozy bed. Feel your chest rising and falling with your breathing rising and falling like the waves on the lake of love. Sleep, little one. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved. There is more love in this world than there are stars in the sky. There is more kindness in this world than there are droplets of water in the entire lake. The world is gentle, and you are gentle too. The world is kind, and you are kind too. The world is loved, and you are loved too. Good night, little one. Sleep tight.